Kiera Monroe sat at her usual table in the coffee shop, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she edited an investigative piece on racial bias in hiring practices. She barely noticed the hum of conversation around her until a sharp voice cut through the air. "Wow, what is that? It looks like you got into a fight with a bird's nest." Kiera froze. Her braids, meticulously styled that morning, were now the center of attention. Tessa Langley stood beside her, smirking, one hand holding a latte and the other clutching her phone. A few heads turned, some chuckling nervously while others stared openly. "It's called hair," Kiera replied, her voice calm but tight. "Ever heard of it?" "Oh, I've heard of it," Tessa said, laughing louder. "But this is ambitious." The room seemed to shrink as Kiera felt every pair of eyes on her. She clenched her fists under the table, forcing herself to stay composed. But Tessa wasn't done yet. With a sly grin, she leaned closer. "You know, if you wanted clicks, all you had to do was ask." Kiera opened her mouth to respond. Tessa had already moved away, her laughter trailing behind her. What Kiera didn't notice was the faint glow of Tessa's phone screen, or the fact that the encounter had been recorded. By the time Kiera left the coffee shop, the video was already live. Tessa had posted it with a snarky caption, "When people take natural beauty too far." Within minutes, comments flooded in, some defending Kiera, many mocking her appearance. "That's not even real hair. She should have just worn a wig. She's probably using this for clout." Each comment hit like a punch to the gut. Kiera scrolled endlessly, her chest tightening with every hateful word. Then she saw it. A retweet from Derek Hale, editor-in-chief of the magazine she'd been trying to join. He'd liked Tessa's post. Her stomach churned. Derek had always struck her as professional, distant even, but liking this, it felt personal. "Why does this matter so much?" she muttered aloud, slamming her phone down on the table. "Because it shouldn't," came a quiet voice. Startled, Kiera looked up to see Riley Chen, a regular at the coffee shop who often worked on their laptop, nearby. They gave her a small, sympathetic smile. "This isn't about your hair," Riley continued. "It's about power, about making you feel small." Kiera sighed, rubbing her temples. "And apparently it works." Riley hesitated before speaking. Again, "You're stronger than they think. Don't let them win without a fight." Before Kiera could respond, Riley went back to their work, leaving her with more questions than answers. That night, Kiera lay awake, staring at her ceiling. Her phone buzzed incessantly on the nightstand, notifications pouring in faster than she could process them. Each one carried another barb, another insult disguised as humor or critique. She couldn't escape it. Not online, not offline. Even her email inbox was filling up with hate mail. One stood out, "You'll never make it in journalism looking like that." The message stung because it echoed something Derek had said during a previous meeting. "Our readers expect professionalism," he'd told her. At the time, she'd brushed it off, assuming he meant tone and accuracy. Now, she wasn't so sure. Desperate for clarity, she decided to confront him. The next morning, she sent him a carefully worded email requesting a call. His response came quickly. "Let's discuss over lunch tomorrow." At the restaurant, Derek greeted her warmly, his demeanor polished and practiced. But when Kiera brought up his interaction with Tessa's tweet, his smile faltered. "I'm surprised you saw that," he admitted. "But honestly, Kiera, perception matters. If we're going to feature you prominently, we need to consider how you present yourself." "So my braids are a liability?" she asked, her voice steady despite the anger bubbling beneath the surface. He shrugged. "They might be. Distracting to some audiences." The implication hung heavy between them. Kiera excused herself shortly after, her mind racing. How could she fight an entire system designed to silence voices like hers? As she walked home, her phone buzzed again. Another notification. Another reminder that the world was watching and judging. Back in her apartment, Kiera scrolled aimlessly through social media, trying to distract herself from the weight pressing down on her chest. Most of the comments were predictable, hateful, dismissive, but one stopped her cold. You think this is bad? Wait until they see what we have planned next. Anonymous, vague, and utterly chilling. Her heart raced as she reread the message, searching for context. Who was behind it? Was it Tessa? Someone else entirely? She shook her head, telling herself it was probably nothing. Just another troll trying to get under her skin. But the words lingered, sinking deeper with each passing second. What are they planning? She whispered, gripping her phone tightly. Her thoughts spiraled. Hadn't Riley mentioned something about power earlier? About making her feel small? Was this part of a larger game she hadn't seen coming? Forcing herself to breathe, Kiera closed her laptop and set her phone aside. Sleep wouldn't come easily tonight, not with those words echoing in her mind. Yet even as fear crept in, a spark of defiance flickered within her. Whoever was pulling the strings, whatever they had planned, she refused to let them win. Not without a fight. The next morning, Kiera marched into the coffee shop with purpose, spotting Tessa at her usual table near the window. She slid into the seat across from her without waiting for an invitation. You owe me an apology, Kiera said, her voice low but firm. Tessa looked up from her phone, feigning surprise. For what? For mocking my hair in front of everyone? And posting that video online? Tessa laughed, a sharp, dismissive sound. Oh, please, it was just a joke. Lighten up. A joke? Kiera shot back, leaning forward. Your joke went viral. People are tearing me apart because of... Tessa shrugged, sipping her latte. That's not my fault. Maybe if you didn't take everything so personally. Kiera clenched her fists under the table, heat rising in her chest. You don't get to decide how I feel about something that's part of who I am. Who are you? Tessa smirked. It's hair, Kiera, not your identity. The words stung, but they also fueled Kiera's resolve. She stood abruptly, glaring down at Tessa. This isn't over, you'll see. As she walked away, Tessa called after her. Good luck with that. Kiera didn't respond. She couldn't, not yet. But as she stepped outside, she knew one thing for certain. Tessa wasn't going to win this fight unchallenged. Later that week, Kiera found herself sitting across from Derek Hale in his sleek office. The air smelled faintly of leather and ambition, but the tension between them was palpable. I wanted to touch base about your application, Derek began, folding his hands on the desk. We're excited about your potential here, but there's something we need to address. Kiera frowned. What's that? It's your appearance. He hesitated, as though searching for the right words. Our brand has a certain image, and unfortunately, some of your choices might not align with it. My choices? Kiera repeated, incredulous. Derek nodded. Your braids, for instance. They're eye-catching, sure, but they could be distracting to our audience. We want readers focused on your work, not your look. Kiera stared at him, stunned. So you're saying I should change my hair to fit some arbitrary standard? It's not arbitrary, Derek replied smoothly. Strategic. If you want to succeed here, you need to think about perception. Her jaw tightened. She wanted to argue, to call him out for what he really meant, but instead she forced a tight smile. Thank you for your feedback. I'll consider it. Once, outside, Kiera exhaled sharply, anger simmering beneath her calm exterior. This wasn't just about her hair. It was about control, about forcing her to shrink herself to make others comfortable, and she wasn't about to let them win. Determined to turn the tables, Kiera drafted an exposé on Tessa's toxic influence and the systemic racism perpetuated by influencers like her. She sent it off to a reputable publication, hopeful that someone would finally listen, but the response came quickly and brutally. We appreciate your pitch, but after reviewing your background, we don't believe this is the right fit for us, read the email. Confused, Kiera scrolled through their website, finding no evidence of bias. Then her phone buzzed, a text from a colleague. Did you hear? Tessa reached out to them first, said you're unreliable. Kiera's stomach dropped. She opened Twitter to see Tessa tweeting cryptically. Some people will do anything for attention, even fabricate stories. Fury bubbled inside her, but worse was the sinking feeling of isolation. Another door closed. Another opportunity. Stolen. Still, she refused to give up. That evening, Kiera returned to the coffee shop, nursing a cup of tea and staring blankly at her laptop. She barely registered Riley sliding into the seat across from her until they spoke. "You look like you're carrying the weight of the world," Riley said softly. Kiera glanced up, startled. "Something like that." Riley leaned closer. "I saw what happened with Tessa, and I know it's bigger than just her." "What do you mean?" Kiera asked, wary. "I've been tracking her activity online for months," Riley explained. "She's part of a pattern, targeting marginalized creators, silencing voices that challenge the status quo. I can help you expose her." Kiera hesitated, unsure whether to trust this stranger, but something in Riley's earnest expression convinced her. "How?" she asked. Riley grinned. "Let's just say I'm good with computers. Together we can uncover things she definitely doesn't want anyone to see." For the first time in days, Kiera felt a flicker of hope. Over the next few weeks, Kiera and Riley dove deep into Tessa's digital footprint. Late nights turned into early mornings as they pieced together a web of manipulation far larger than either had anticipated. "She's working with an algorithm company," Riley revealed one night, pointing to a series of encrypted emails. "They suppress content created by women of color, boosting posts that align with Eurocentric ideals instead." Kiera stared at the screen, her heart pounding. "This isn't just about me. It's about every voice they've silenced." "Exactly," Riley said. "And now we have proof." The discovery ignited a fire within Kiera. This wasn't just personal anymore. It was systemic. Every snide comment, every rejection, every attempt to diminish her worth suddenly made sense. But exposing the truth wouldn't be easy. Just as Kiera began drafting her article, a cryptic message appeared in her inbox. "Tessa knows what you're planning." Panic surged through her. How? Then it hit her. Mara, her best friend, who'd promised to support her. Confronting Mara later that day, Kiera demanded answers. "I can explain," Mara pleaded, tears streaming down her face. "She offered me a deal, a collaboration, exposure for my photography. I didn't think she'd actually use the info. So, you sold me out?" Kiera snapped, her voice trembling with betrayal. "I didn't mean to hurt you," Mara cried. "I thought you were being paranoid." Kiera shook her head, stepping back. "I trusted you, and now everything's at risk because of you." As she walked away, anger and sadness warred within her. Who could she trust now? That night, Kiera found an envelope slipped under her apartment door. Inside was a single sheet of paper. "Stop digging, or else." Her hands trembled as she read the words over and over. Who sent it? What did "or else" even mean? Fear crept in, but so did determination. They wanted her to stop. Fine, let them try to stop her. She grabbed her laptop, typing furiously. Whatever happened next, she wouldn't back down. Not now, not ever. The morning started like any other, until Kiera opened her laptop and saw the headlines. Kiera Monroe fabricates racism, claims to gain fame. Exposé author caught in web of lies. Her stomach churned as she scrolled through article after article, each one dissecting a falsified version of her exposé draft. Fake quotes attributed to her claimed she admitted exaggerating stories for clicks. Social media erupted with accusations, drowning out the few voices still defending her. "What is this?" Riley asked, sitting beside her at the coffee shop. They pointed to a tweet from Tessa. "Truth comes out eventually." Kiera shook her head, tears welling up. "They're twisting everything I worked for into this." Riley hesitated, their usual confidence wavering. "If people believe this, we might not be able to recover." For the first time, doubt crept into Riley's voice, and it terrified Kiera. If even Riley was questioning whether they could win, how could she keep going? But then an email notification popped up, a freelance client canceling their contract, then another, and another. By noon, Kiera's inbox was a graveyard of rejections. Her dream of exposing systemic racism felt more distant than ever. Over the next few days, Kiera's life unraveled piece by piece. Freelance gigs disappeared overnight. Savings dwindled as bills piled up. Sleep became a luxury she couldn't afford, her mind racing with worst-case scenarios. One night, staring at her bank account balance, she whispered aloud, "I can't do this anymore." Then came the invitation to appear on a popular morning show, a supposed opportunity to clear her name. Desperate, Kiera agreed. On set, cameras rolled as the host introduced her. Joining us today is Kiera Monroe, whose exposé has sparked controversy across social media. Before Kiera could respond, Tessa joined via video call. "Kiera," Tessa began sweetly, "do you stand by your claims, or are they, as some suggest, fabricated?" Kiera faltered, caught off guard. "My claims are based on facts." "But your track record says otherwise," Tessa interrupted, smirking. "Multiple sources confirm inconsistencies in your work." The room seemed to shrink around Kiera. Cameras flashed. The host pressed harder. "Is it true you exaggerated details for attention?" I didn't," Kiera stammered, her voice breaking under the weight of exhaustion and betrayal. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she buried her face in her hands. The damage was done. Clips of her breakdown went viral, confirming everyone's doubts. Even Riley stopped responding to her texts. Alone in her apartment that night, Kiera stared at the ceiling, wondering if fighting back had been worth it. Just when all hope seemed lost, Riley reached out. "I found something," they said. Over the phone, urgency in their tone. Kiera barely had the energy to care. "What difference does it make now?" "This changes everything," Riley insisted. "Meet me at the coffee shop." When Kiera arrived, Riley slid a tablet toward her. On the screen was an email chain between Tessa and Derek. "Make sure she loses every opportunity," Tessa wrote. "Already on it," Derek replied. "Her career won't survive this." Kiera's breath hitched. "This proves they sabotaged me." "And there's more," Riley added. "They've been manipulating algorithms to suppress not just your work, but countless others too." For the first time in days, Kiera felt a flicker of determination reignite. "We need to get this out," she said firmly. Riley nodded. "Leave it to me." Within hours, the emails were everywhere. Major news outlets picked up the story, dissecting the coordinated attack against Kiera. Headlines shifted dramatically. "Influencer and editor exposed for orchestrating smear campaign. Systemic racism unmasked. How algorithms silence marginalized voices." Public opinion flipped overnight. Supporters rallied around Kiera, flooding her social media with messages of solidarity. Critics who'd called her a liar scrambled to distance themselves from Tessa and Derek. Tessa released a statement. "I deeply regret my actions and take full responsibility." Derek followed suit. "I made mistakes and will step aside to allow healing." Both resigned within 24 hours. Kiera watched it all unfold from her couch, overwhelmed but vindicated. For the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to breathe. But the victory wasn't just hers. It belonged to every voice that had been silenced, every creator pushed aside because of who they were. As the dust settled, Kiera realized this was only the beginning. There was still so much work to do. The tide had turned, and Kiera Monroe was no longer the woman who'd been humiliated in a coffee shop or vilified on national television. She was now a symbol of resilience, a voice that refused to be silenced. Her exposé, once weaponized against her, was finally published in the Vanguard Review, one of the most prestigious magazines in journalism. Critics hailed it as groundbreaking, praising its unflinching look at systemic racism in media and algorithms. "Kiera Monroe has done what many thought impossible," wrote one reviewer. "She exposed the machinery of bias while standing tall. Amidst attempts to destroy her, interview requests poured in. Podcasts, talk shows, panels all wanted to hear her story. In each appearance, Kiera spoke with quiet strength about the importance of amplifying marginalized voices. "It's not just about me," she said during one interview. This fight is for every person who's ever been told their truth doesn't matter. My hope is that this opens doors for others to tell their stories without fear. Her words resonated deeply, sparking conversations across industries. Awards followed: Journalist of the Year, Advocate for Change. But Kiera remained grounded, knowing the real victory wasn't hers alone. It belonged to everyone fighting for justice. As accolades mounted, so did invitations to speak at events honoring trailblazers. At one such gathering, Kiera found herself surrounded by admirers eager to shake her hand. But amid the celebration, someone waited quietly in the wings, a figure whose presence would change everything yet again. The room buzzed with energy, but Kiera felt a pull toward the balcony, where an older woman stood gazing out at the city lights. Something about her seemed familiar. "You've come far, Kiera," the woman said without turning around. Kiera froze. The voice triggered memories. The anonymous comment warning her months ago, the cryptic messages guiding her investigation. "Who are you?" she asked, stepping closer. The woman turned, revealing piercing eyes framed by silver-streaked hair. "Evelyn Hayes. I used to do what you're doing now until they pushed me out." Kiera's heart raced. "You were behind those clues, the warnings?" Kiera's heart raced. "You were behind those clues, the warnings?" Evelyn nodded. "I saw your potential early on. When Tessa attacked you, I knew you could expose the rot in the system if given the right tools. So I nudged here and there. Nothing overt, just enough to keep you moving forward." Flashes of moments returned to Kiera. The timely tip-offs, the resources appearing when she needed them most. Evelyn's fingerprints were everywhere. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Kiera asked, equal parts grateful and stunned. "Because the journey had to be yours," Evelyn replied gently. "My role was simply to ensure you had what you needed to win." Kiera exhaled, overwhelmed by the weight of Evelyn's sacrifice. "Thank you for believing in me when I didn't even believe in myself." Evelyn smiled faintly. "The work isn't over, Kiera. Keep going, for all of us." With that, she disappeared into the crowd, leaving Kiera both humbled and inspired. Later, that evening, Kiera took the stage at the event's closing ceremony. The auditorium fell silent as she approached the podium, her presence commanding attention. "I never imagined I'd stand here today," she began, her voice steady but tinged with emotion. "When I started this journey, I was met with cruelty disguised as humor, rejection cloaked as professionalism, and lies masquerading as truth. For a long time, I wondered if my voice mattered at all." Her gaze swept over the audience, locking eyes with individuals who nodded in understanding. But then something shifted. People began to listen, not because of me, but because of the collective power of our shared experiences. This fight wasn't mine alone, it was ours. And together, we dismantled a machine designed to silence us. Applause rippled through the room, but Kiera pressed on. "This victory isn't the end, it's the beginning. There are still voices waiting to be heard, stories yearning to be told. To anyone watching who feels small because of someone else's cruelty, your voice matters. Your truth matters, you matter." Tears glistened in her eyes as she paused, letting the weight of her words settle. "To the elders who paved the way, like Evelyn Hayes, whose guidance shaped this moment, I dedicate this to you. To the next generation, I promise, we will continue to clear the path for you." The room erupted in applause, cheers echoing off the walls. Strangers embraced. Some cried openly. Others simply sat, absorbing her message. As Kiera stepped away from the podium, she felt lighter, as though a burden she hadn't realized she carried had finally lifted. But the night wasn't over yet. Walking backstage, Kiera paused before a mirror. Her reflection stared back, framed by the sleek wig she'd worn throughout the event. With trembling hands, she reached up and removed it, letting it fall to the table. Her braids tumbled free, catching the soft glow of the overhead lights. She ran her fingers through them, feeling their texture, their weight, and smiled. For months, she'd hidden behind conformity, trying to fit into spaces that weren't built for her. But tonight, she chose authenticity. Tonight, she chose herself. Stepping outside, she walked into the cool night air. Cameras flashed in the distance, capturing her silhouette against the city skyline. Reporters shouted questions, but Kiera ignored them, focusing instead on the rhythm of her steps and the steadiness of her breath. As she disappeared into the crowd, her braids swayed with confidence, a testament to her journey. No longer seeking validation from a world that tried to break her, Kiera moved forward with purpose. And somewhere Evelyn watched, smiling softly. This story reminds us how powerful resilience can be when we stand up against injustice. If Kiera's journey moved you, imagine the impact your voice could have too. Sharing this video isn't just about spreading a message, it's about standing with those who refuse to stay silent. Hit that like button if you believe in amplifying stories of courage, and subscribe for more narratives that challenge, inspire, and unite us. Together, let's keep these conversations alive, because every share brings us one step closer to change.